Hey everyone, and welcome back to Turner Mobile Detailing. In today's video, we've got Turtle Wax's Speed Headlight Lens Restorer. Let's hit it. In today's video, we're featuring Turtle Wax's Speed Headlight Lens Restorer. Now, if you remember my video from about a year and a half ago, I reviewed Turtle Wax's Headlight Restoration Kit. Now, this kit I believe is the second coming or the second version of that kit. It's called Speed because it has less in it and it's also cheaper. This kit will run you around $10, while the other kit, the Headlight Lens Restorer Kit, will run you around $12 or $13. I will leave links in the description below for both kits if you'd like to check them out and compare them for yourself. But let's open this kit up and see what we've got to work with. So the first thing we can pull out here is the Headlight Lens Repair and Renew Heal and Seal Technology Polish. Now this stuff, it says, increases headlight lens clarity, brightness, and visibility. They give you a 2-ounce bottle, and the back of it, the directions say, wash headlight to remove surface dirt, apply headlight lens repair and renew compound to a small cotton cloth and spread product evenly over dull headlight surfaces with moderate pressure in slow back and forth motion for 30 seconds. Buff area with dry cotton cloth. Repeat if necessary to achieve max clarity. So I imagine you can jump straight to this step if your headlights are not that bad. But as you can see to my left here, we've got a headlight lens that is really bad. It's around 13 years old. It's the original headlight lens, and you can see the clear coat from the factory is completely oxidized on it. So it really needs to be removed with some wet sanding before we use any kind of restoration polish. So we're going to put this aside for the moment. And they do give you in the kit one wet sanding block. Now if you remember, the other kit came with 2 wet sanding blocks, both double-sided as this is. This has got a number 1 and a number 2 printed on it. Now both of them are very, very mild sandpaper. So I'm wondering if this level of sandpaper is going to be enough to remove the amount of oxidation that's on this headlight lens. The number 1 honestly feels like it corresponds to about 3,000 grit, and then the number 2 maybe 4,000 to 5,000 grit. On the number 2 side, you can barely feel any kind of grit. So we'll see how that performs. And then, of course, we've got our sealer wipes, our ceramic acrylic sealer wipes. Now these things are basically like a miniature version of a ceramic coating for your headlight for plastic surfaces, and I imagine that this polish has some kind of ceramic protection in it also. It not only has an abrasive to remove some light scratching or light oxidation, but it also probably has some ceramic properties. So if you use this as a standalone product, it would also leave behind a light layer of protection. But what's more is that if you use these two things in conjunction with the polish I imagine acts as like a primer, a base coat. So that will cure on the surface of the headlight lens, and then when you put the ceramic sealer wipe on top of it, they work together in conjunction with each other and create a nice seal of the plastic that should last, they say, around 1 year. So that's how those two things work together. Now the last thing we have in the box is a plastic glove. Now they sent the same glove with the other kit that we reviewed last year, the original Turtle Wax Headlight Lens Restoration Kit. Now obviously we're not going to be using this thing today. I've got my own gloves, and I suggest you use your own nitrile gloves. These things kind of just get in the way. They're so loose on your hands. These things remind me of, if you think back to when you were in grade school or middle school, the lunch ladies would use some of these things. These big gaudy plastic gloves as they're scooping out that mashed potatoes onto your tray. That's what these things remind me of. But anyway, so that's the contents of the kit. The box is completely empty. So now if you notice, I've already gone ahead and cleaned the headlight lens, and I've already masked around the area. That's the first thing you always want to do, especially if you're going to be wet sanding. If you're not going to be wet sanding, if you're just going to use some polish, then if you're careful, if you clean the area first around the headlight, you probably get away without masking the area off. But in this case, we want to be safe, so we've masked off each headlight because, like I said before, we are going to be wet sanding the headlight lens. So things that you're going to need that the kit does not provide is a spray bottle of water, a microfiber towel, and of course a cleaner of choice. I use O&R, Optimum No Rinse, to clean the area before, but you can use car wash if you want to do this after you've already washed your car. Don't put any wax on the headlight lenses. That would be fine too. Just get the area clean. It doesn't have to be sterile, but it's got to be clean of dirt and debris so you're not scratching anything while you're either wet sanding or polishing. Alright, so I've got my gloves on and I've got my bottle of water. Now this is distilled water. You don't need to use distilled water to wet sand with. You can use regular tap water. If you have really hard water, maybe then I think about using distilled water, but as long as it's not that scenario, regular tap water or drinking water should be fine. So I'm just going to spray a little water on the lens, and we're going to start off with the number 1 grit. Now, something that you can do after you've gone over the area one time, you can clean the sanding block with just some water, just by spraying it down just like that, and then take your towel and wipe off the sanding residue, the sanded off clear coat that you've sanded off so far, that milky substance, and then just go another round. Okay, so we've gone 2 treatments with the number 1 side of the sanding block. So the next thing I'm going to do before I move on to the number 2 side is I'm going to clean it, make sure it's clean, and then the same thing on the lens. Spray a little bit more water and wipe it down. Now I am worried that this little sanding block is not going to be gritty enough, like I said before, to fully correct what we need to correct here. But we're going to try it anyway, see how it goes. So we're going to move on to the number 2 side. Alright, same thing we did before. We're going to clean the sanding block, and then I'm going to wipe down the lens, and then we're going to do it again. So we're sanding the lens twice with each side of the sanding block. Alright, same thing. We're just going to clean our block off before we put it aside, and then clean the lens. Okay, so the lens has been sanded with the number 1 and the number 2 sides of the block 2 times each, and this is what it looks like. It doesn't look perfect. It doesn't look nearly what it would look like if we started with, say, 1,000 grit and worked our way up to 4,000 grit. We are going to see the kit through. I'm going to compound it or polish it with the supplied polish, and then I'm going to apply the acrylic ceramic wipe and see how it looks. If it doesn't look good after that final step, the ceramic acrylic wipe, then I'll just strip it all off and use my own method to get these headlights nice and clear. But again, we're going to see this kit through and see how it performs. Now, I know in the other video I showed you this process by hand, but in this video I'm going to be using a drill and a drill attachment, or polishing drill attachment, with a 3-inch foam medium density polishing pad. This is what I use to finish off headlights usually before I put any kind of protection or sealant on them. So this stuff says that obviously you can use it by hand or by machine. It's going to say by hand because that's what most DIYers are going to use. But in this case, you can imagine how to use it by hand. I don't think I need to show you how to do that, but I'm going to show you how to do it this way because it's much faster, it's much more efficient. I think it's much more effective than doing it by hand. And these parts, these tools are, except for the drill, are relatively inexpensive. So If you already have a drill, I will leave links to the drill attachment, the backing plate, and also the foam polishing pad in the description below. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to shake up the polish really well. Now because this is a dry pad, I'm going to put a little bit more on here than usual. Something like that. I'm going to do one area at a time. I'm going to do the front first, and then I'll get some more product, and then I'll do the side. Now I used a slow setting on the drill, kind of spread the product around, and then I'm going to bump it up to level 2. Now you can see after I've polished the front of the headlight, it doesn't look that great. There's still a lot of banding here from the old clear coat that has not been removed. It looks better than it did when we first started out, but it doesn't look fully restored like we want. So that's not a good sign for this kit. I can already tell you how it's going to turn out, but we're going to keep going just to see. Okay, so the lens has been totally polished all the way around, front, side, and top, and hopefully you can see in the camera, you can still see a lot of the oxidized clear coat on the lens. Hopefully the camera is picking it up, but in person there's still a lot of oxidization and old bad yellow clear coat on the lens. Okay, so I'm hoping that you can tell from that footage that this kit is really not meant for headlights like this that have got some severe oxidation. Probably more meant for headlights that have some light yellowing, some light oxidization. Nothing like this really. So I know I said before that I was still going to put the acrylic ceramic wipe on there, but I really don't think I'm going to do that. I think it would be a waste of that product. Something else I do want to say about these things is that when you see the word acrylic, that means that there's fillers in the product. Think about one of Turtle Wax's other products. They're black ceramic acrylic wax, the spray wax. It's black tinted, it's got black acrylic fillers in there. What those acrylics are fillers. So what they're going to do is fill in light scratching and swirling, very light paint defects, in this case plastic defects, and smooth them over and make them less visible or not visible altogether. And that's the same thing that these things do. They fill in imperfections and they also protect. So we're going to save this for the final step after I go through this the proper way. Off camera, I'm going to go ahead and do my own process. I'm going to go ahead and wet sand this with, I'm going to start with probably 2000, see if 2000 does the job, and then work my way up to 4000. Okay, so off camera, I actually went and wet sanded the headlight lens. First, I went all the way down to 600 grit, then to 1000 grit, and then up to 2000 grit. And that's where we're at now, is that it's been sanded with 2000 grit. I'm hoping that this stuff is strong enough to clear up 2000 grit sanding marks. If it's not, then I'll have to bump it up to 3000 and then try this stuff again. So let's see how this stuff works on 2000 grit sanding marks. The polish did a pretty good job in taking out the 2000 grit sanding marks. There are still some splotches here and here, but to get that stuff out, we'd have to go all the way back down to say even like a 400 or 500 grit sandpaper. So we're going to put the acrylic wipe on and see how much more clarity that adds. Now the directions for these things say to clean and correct both lenses before opening. Open pouch containing the ceramic acrylic wipe. Using the included plastic glove, quickly coat both lenses with an even back and forth motion. Allow 3 to 5 minutes for headlights to dry. Coating will fully cure in 24 hours. So to me, you can do one lens at a time. You've got 2 packets of wipes, so you can do one wipe after you've done the first lens and then leave the second one for the second lens. You don't have to correct both of them before you open either one. It's just a regular little towelette wipe, and basically wipe it on in a crosshatch pattern. And the wipe really does cover over a multitude of sins. Any little cloudiness left over by the correction process, it takes care of pretty easily, I'd have to say. So it doesn't say to buff off at all, it just says to wipe the wipes on the lenses and then allow it to dry. Allow 3 to 5 minutes for headlights to dry, and then the coating will fully cure in 24 hours. So I imagine you don't want to get wet for 24 hours. So what I'm going to do, because the wipe doesn't go on perfectly evenly, I'm just going to kind of smooth it out a little bit, buff it in. It dries very fast. So I'm not really caring for this turtle wax acrylic wipe all that much. It's kind of streaky. It doesn't really dry uniform. So I'm going to try one of my own 3Ms. It's the 3M Quick Headlight Clear Coat. This is also a ceramic product, and see if that can fix the problem here. And that did a really nice job. So the ceramic acrylic wipes, again, I don't think they did a very good job. Once they started to cure, after about 30 seconds or so, they were streaky, and I couldn't even buff those streaks down with a microfiber towel. Even after I re-wet them with the same wipe, I still couldn't buff them out. So I re-wet everything with my 3M ceramic wipe, and it looks much better now. I'm going to smooth it out again with the towel a little bit. So there we have it. Let's take a closer look to see how the lens came out. So as we take a look at a before and after shot, you can see there's a huge difference in the lens. It came out really nice and bright. But unfortunately, Turtle Wax's Speed Headlight Lens Restorer Kit really does not live up to my expectations, my standards, and I doubt it would live up to any of your standards given the results that we saw today. Now, like I said before, this kit would probably be okay for headlights that have just started to yellow, just started to oxidize, so very light fading, hazing on the lens. But lenses like this that were over 13 years old and had some severe oxidization, the clear coat, the original factory clear coat on them was completely oxidized and quite frankly almost fully opaque. This lens kit, this restoration kit really is not cut out for that kind of restoration. So again, depending on what you're looking for, this might be an answer. It's only 10 bucks or so if you've got light oxidization on your lenses, light hazing, yellowing. This would probably be a decent option for you, but if you've got anything more than that, I would steer clear. Maybe go for the kit, if you can find it, that we reviewed about 1.5 years ago. Their full-on lens restorer kit instead of the Speed version. So anyway, that's my take on this kit. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it helped you make a more informed decision as to what kind of kit you're going to buy to restore your lenses. If you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give us a like right down below. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. That way you won't miss any future auto detailing content just like this. So as always, I'm Seth with Turner Mobile Detailing, and I'll see you in the next video.